Smoke covered the broken battlefield of Kira 9. Fires burned where trees used to grow. Bodies of soldiers, human and alien, lay across the ground. Silence followed the storm of war. Commander Riven lay in the mud, one hand pressed hard against his side. Blood leaked through his fingers. His breathing was rough. His right leg was twisted. His weapon was broken beside him, but he was still alive. He looked up at the sky, where a dark alien ship hovered silently. It had been watching him for hours, like a bird waiting for its prey to stop moving. It didn't attack. It only watched. Inside that ship, the alien known as Sadrak observed the screen. He was one of the Valari, a species known for intelligence and control. Sadrak watched Riven and spoke into the communication line. "The human is still alive," Sadrak said. "Injured, alone, but still alive." A cold voice replied, "Then finish him." "No," Sadrak said. "Wait, I want to see what he does next." On the ground, Riven tore a piece of cloth from his uniform and tied it around his bleeding side. Every move hurt. His vision blurred, but his mind stayed sharp. He looked around. 3 alien drones were searching the area. Their scanners beeped softly. They moved closer, unaware that the human they were looking for was still breathing. Riven pressed his body into the dirt, waiting. He whispered to himself, "Come on. Just a little closer." One of the drones stopped a few meters away. It turned slightly, scanning a broken tree. At that moment, Riven grabbed a sharp piece of metal and threw it with all his strength. The blade hit the drone's eye. Sparks flew. The machine screamed in a strange metallic sound and fell. The other 2 drones turned fast. They fired plasma bolts toward the noise, but Riven had already rolled behind a broken wall. From above, Sadrak leaned forward. "Interesting," he said. "He fights even now." The voice on the line returned. "One human can't change anything. He will die soon." "Maybe," Sadrak answered. "But this one is not normal." Riven stayed low, thinking quickly. He had seen his team die ambushed in the night. No time to react. The aliens had superior weapons and numbers. But what they didn't have was human willpower. "Think." He muttered, "Use what you have." He checked his pockets. 1 broken unit, 2 small energy cells, a flare, and a memory chip from the last drone he had destroyed. "All right," he said. "Let's make some noise." He moved toward the fallen drone he had hit earlier. His leg screamed with pain, but he didn't stop. He reached the body and pulled wires from it, connecting the memory chip to his unit. The screen blinked, then showed the map of a nearby Valari outpost. Perfect.sey. Watched closely. "He's using the drone's memory. Clever." Outside, Riven dragged himself behind the trees. He was going to the outpost. Not to escape, but to fight. The aliens would never expect a wounded man to attack. The forest grew darker as night approached. Riven moved slowly, using branches to support himself. When he reached the edge of the alien camp, he saw 5 more drones and 2 Valari soldiers standing guard. He whispered, 2 against 1. Plus drones, good odds. He knew he had to create fear, confusion. If they thought there were more humans, they'd panic. He lit the flare and threw it far into the forest. Bright red light burst into the night sky. The guards looked up. At that moment, Riven crawled into the camp. He grabbed a fallen drone arm and quickly used it to hack a small power unit. He redirected its energy output. Suddenly, alarms screamed across the camp. The Valari guards shouted. In their language, weapons raised. But before they could search the area, the power unit exploded. Riven flew backward from the blast, landing hard. But he smiled. The camp was in chaos. One of the drones fired blindly into the trees. Another flew off to call for help. Sadrak stood now, watching the live feed. This is not just survival, he said. He's fighting a war by himself, The command voice returned. End him now. Send an airstrike. No, Cedric said. Coldly, let him finish what he started. Back on the ground, Riven pulled himself to a small cave near the camp. He lit a small fire and warmed his hands. His face was pale, blood still dripping from his side. He looked tired, empty, but his eyes stayed sharp. He heard a soft beep from the comm unit. It was still active. Somehow it had picked up a Velari signal. He listened. Search area, human not located. Possible retreat route. Riven smiled. They think I'm running. He turned the comm unit off and rested for an hour. When morning came, he moved again. Slowly, painfully, but forward. Always forward. He reached a valley filled with broken machines. What was left of Earth's first attack on Kira 9. Rusted tanks, crushed mechs, empty helmets. He walked among the wreckage. I'm not the first here, he whispered. But maybe I'll be the last. Suddenly, a Velari scout ship appeared above him. Too fast. It fired. Riven jumped behind a metal shell. Barely surviving the blast, the force threw him down a slope, hitting rocks and dirt. He groaned in pain. The ship hovered, scanning for life. Signs. Inside, Cedric watched. Still alive, he whispered. Still fighting. Riven pushed a broken panel aside. He found something strange, a working human fusion cell buried under the wreckage. It had power. Enough to charge a small device. Or create a strong explosion. He grinned. You shouldn't have left this behind. He connected it to his comm unit, setting a countdown. He taped it to a nearby mech frame, then started crawling away from the site. The scout ship came lower. The camera on the ship zoomed in on Riven's crawling body. Then, boom, the mech exploded. A chain of blasts followed, setting off the wreckage in the valley. Fire covered the sky. Cedric's screen went white. When it cleared, all they saw was smoke and silence. No sign of the human, one officer reported. Cedric stared at the screen, then slowly smiled. Oh, he's still alive, he said. He always is. And he was right. Far away, through the smoke and blood, Commander Riven walked alone into the next forest, limping, bleeding, but alive. The war wasn't over. But now, the aliens were afraid of one man. The sun rose slowly over Kira 9, casting a dull orange light across the dead land. Black smoke still hung in the air from the battle in the valley. The ground was scorched, metal twisted, and bones half buried in the dirt. Nothing moved except for one man. Commander Riven dragged himself across the cracked surface, his left arm barely working, his right leg completely numb. His face was pale, his lips dry. But he didn't stop. He couldn't stop. Every breath felt like fire in his lungs. Every heartbeat reminded him he was still alive. Just barely, he muttered to himself. Can't die yet. Not until it's over. The explosion from yesterday had destroyed the Velari scout ship. It also nearly destroyed Riven. He had been lucky, or maybe just cursed, to survive again. Behind him, he left a trail of blood in the dirt. High above, in the Velari observation ship, Cedric stared at the screen. The satellite feed zoomed in on the crawling figure. He still moves. Cedric whispered. Another alien officer stepped forward. He's dying. Let the desert finish him. Cedric shook his head. No, he is something else. Something dangerous. He's alone. Cedric turned slowly. So was your brother. Until this human killed him. The officer stepped back, saying nothing more. Back on the surface, Riven pulled himself into the shade of a giant rock. He dropped down, breathing hard. His hands trembled as he opened his torn shirt to check the wound near his ribs. It was worse than before, red and swollen. Infection had started. He had no medical kit. No nanobots. Just dirty cloth and his will to live. I need shelter, he whispered. Somewhere to hide. To heal. Think. He scanned the land. To the north, cliffs. To the west, more open ground. But to the east, his eyes caught a broken metal tower. Sticking out of the sand. An old Earthcom station, abandoned during the first wave. He smiled slightly. That'll do. It took him half the day to crawl there. The sun beat down on him. Vultures circled in the distance. He pushed forward, inch by inch. His whole body screamed for rest. But he remembered their faces, his squad. Danner, Rao, Silva, all gone. He wasn't ready to join them. When he reached the tower, he rolled into the shadow. The base had a hatch mostly buried. With great effort, he cleared the sand and pried it open. It creaked, loud and rusty. Inside was dark, but cooler. He climbed down slowly, using one working arm and a rope inside. The place smelled like dust and metal, but it was quiet. Safe for now. He sat against the wall and let himself breathe. Then he laughed. It wasn't joy. It was madness, pain, anger. I should be dead. But he wasn't. Not yet. He checked the room. Old power cells. A broken drone arm. A half-functioning scanner. No medkits. Still, it was something. He ripped part of his sleeve and tied his arm to a metal rod, making a makeshift splint. Then he used a broken tool to heat a metal pin. He looked at his infected wound. "This is gonna hurt," he said. He bit down on his glove and burned the infection out. The scream echoed through the station above. In the ship, Sadrak heard the audio feed. He leaned closer. "He's burning his own flesh." The alien next to him looked disgusted. "No creature should suffer like that." Sadrak's voice was quiet. "He chooses it." Back inside, Riven passed out from the pain. When he woke, it was night. He was sweating, but the bleeding had stopped. The infection might have slowed. Or maybe he didn't have long. Didn't matter. He looked around, found a small screen in the corner. It still had power. He tapped it weakly. The screen lit up with a soft blue glow. Old Earth command logs. Last dated entry. Retreat order. All units fall back. Enemy too strong. Riven clenched his fist. They left us. He closed the log. But another file blinked. Prototype defense program. Manual override. He tapped it. A blueprint appeared. An old defense drone, never finished, but half-built somewhere underground. Buried tech left behind. He smiled. "Guess I'm not alone after all." Riven spent the next 2 days rebuilding. He dragged parts together, connected wires, used scraps of alien metal to fill gaps. The pain was constant. His body was broken. But his hands moved with purpose. He named the drone Ghost. By the third day, Ghost was active, not strong, not smart, but enough to scan the area and move. "Good boy," Riven said. Ghost blinked a green light. That night, Ghost detected movement outside VLAA, I patrol, 2 soldiers. Scouting the area, Riven stared at the screen. His heart beat faster. He grabbed the broken drone arm he had repaired. Still no gun. Just a metal pipe with an energy cell wired to it. He turned to Ghost. "Time to test you out." They waited in silence as the aliens approached. The hatch creaked. One Vilari climbed down, weapon ready. The other stayed above. Riven held his breath. Aliens stepped inside, scanning with blue light. Then Ghost dropped from the ceiling and stabbed a wire into the Vilari's neck. The alien screamed, firing wildly. Riven rushed from the shadows and smashed the pipe into the creature's head. Sparks flew. Blood splashed. The alien dropped. Riven grabbed the weapon. The second Vilari jumped down, but this time Riven was ready. He fired, a clean shot. Silence. Returned. He leaned against the wall, breathing heavy. "I'm not done yet." Sadrak watched the screen with deep interest. "2 more dead," the officer said. "Should we send reinforcements?" Sadrak shook his head. "No, not yet. Let's see what happens next." On the ground, Riven searched the aliens' bodies. He found medical foam finally. He sprayed it into his wounds, sighing in relief as the pain faded a little. He also found a short-range signal booster. With Ghost's help, he used it to hack into the Velari feed. He watched their patrol routes, listened to their commands, and he smiled. They don't know I'm listening. That night, he sent a message, just one word, still here. The Velari command saw it. They panicked. Cedric didn't. He laughed quietly. He wants them to know he's alive. Yes, the officer said. But why? Cedric stared at the screen, voice calm. Because a ghost only scares you when it whispers in the dark. The next day, Velari forces returned in full armor. 10 soldiers. 3 drones, but the station was empty. A note written in human blood sat on the wall. Too late. Miles away. Riven watched from a cliff, his drone beside him. His body still hurt. His bones were still broken. But his spirit was stronger than ever. The battle wasn't over. The war had just begun. The wind howled through the empty canyons of Kira-9, picking up sand and ash from the battlefield ruins. The sky was covered in thick gray clouds, and the sun's light was barely visible. The land looked dead, but something moved in the dust. Commander. Riven. His armor was cracked. His skin burned from sun and infection. But he moved like a shadow, silent and patient. Behind him, his drone companion Ghost floated low, its lights dim to avoid detection. Riven crouched behind a broken engine core, watching the Velari patrols move through the valley below. 10 alien soldiers in dark armor, their long rifles glowing. Blue scanned the ground carefully. 3 scout drones hovered above them, searching for any sign of human life. Too many to fight head-on. Riven whispered. Ghost blinked softly in reply. Riven had been hunting them for days. Slowly, quietly, picking them off one at a time. The Velari thought they were searching for a dying man, but they didn't know they were being hunted. He waited until the wind picked up again. The dust thickened. Visibility dropped. He moved. Crawling through the dirt, he reached a pile of bones and metal. One of the soldiers from his old squad Danner. Riven bowed his head for a second, then grabbed a small grenade from the ruined body. Still intact. Thank you, he said. He slid back into the shadows and placed the grenade inside a broken unit. Then he tossed it into the open, where the Velari scouts would see it. It didn't take long. One of the drones spotted the device. It beeped and flashed, alerting the patrol. A Velari soldier walked toward it. Human tech, he said in his strange tongue. Careful, another warned. But it was too late. The second the soldier touched it, the grenade exploded. Fire and smoke filled the air. 2 Velari dropped instantly. The others scattered, shouting in confusion. Riven was already moving again. He sprinted toward a ridge and climbed up, ignoring the pain in his leg. Ghost followed close behind, scanning for new targets. Below, the aliens regrouped. Spread out, the squad leader shouted. He's here. Riven pulled out a piece of metal shaped like a blade, one he had sharpened by hand. He grinned. They're starting to understand, he muttered. In the Velari observation ship high above. Cedric watched the feed from the ground. He's using the storm, one officer said. Cedric nodded. He is the storm. The command room fell silent. On the ground, the Velari split into small groups to cover more ground. It was exactly what Riven had hoped for. One by one, he picked them off. He dropped smoke bombs to blind them, used sound decoys to lead them into traps. Ghost hacked a scout drone and turned its camera away just before Riven slit the throat of another Velari from behind. It wasn't war. It was art. By sunset, only 4 aliens remained. They stood in a circle, backs to each other, guns shaking. This can't be real, one whispered. He's just a man. No, said the squad leader. He's a ghost. Riven watched them from above, hidden on a cliff. His body ached. His face was covered in blood. But he felt alive. He spoke into the stolen cum device, using the Valari frequency. "Tell your masters," he said. "You're not the hunters. I am." The aliens froze. The voice had come from everywhere. Then the last bomb exploded, knocking them to the ground. Riven walked out of the dust, gun in hand. He fired once, twice. The last sounds the Valari heard were their own screams. When the silence returned, only Riven stood. He dropped to his knees, gasping for breath. Ghost hovered beside him, lights flashing red. "I'm okay," Riven said. "I just need a minute." In the sky, Sadrak watched quietly. His hands were folded behind his back. "He hunts like a predator," an officer said. "He's better," Sadrak replied. "Predators hunt for food. He hunts for vengeance." The officer looked uneasy. "Should we pull back our forces?" Sadrak shook his head. "No, we send more. Let the others see what he can do." "Why?" "Because I want the whole galaxy to fear one human." That night, Riven built a small fire near the edge of a canyon. He stitched his wounds, drank recycled water, and stared at the stars. Ghost played a recording, the last message Riven's squad had sent before they died. "This is Team Echo. We're under fire. Requesting support. Coordinates." Riven listened, then deleted the message. The past was gone. Only the mission remained. He turned to Ghost. "Tomorrow, we move north. There's a weapons cache hidden in the cliffs. If it's still there, we'll have a real gun again." Ghost blinked green, but just as Riven closed his eyes to rest, he heard a faint sound. Footsteps. Too quiet for Valari. He reached for his blade. From the shadows, a figure stepped forward. "Human. Female. She raised her hands. "Easy, I'm not your enemy." Riven didn't lower his weapon. "Name?" "Dr. Marquez, Earth Intelligence." Riven narrowed his eyes. "We were told you died with the others." "Most of us did," she said, "but I escaped." "Been hiding." "Tracking you." "Why?" "Because you're making the Valari panic. We think you can help us turn the tide." Riven hesitated. "Who's we?" "There's a small resistance cell underground. Survivors, engineers, soldiers. They need someone like you." Riven looked into her eyes. There was fear, but also hope. He slowly lowered the blade. "All right," he said. "Take me to them." Behind him, Ghost's light blinked once, as if approving. As the two humans walked into the night, Riven felt something he hadn't felt in weeks. Purpose. The hunter had found a new pack, and the war was far from over. High above the scorched lands of Kira 9, inside the cold steel walls of the Valari command ship Shadar-Vek, silence filled the observation deck. Large screens floated in the air, displaying live feeds from patrols, satellite scans, and ground units. Dozens of Valari officers moved through the room, their steps light, their eyes filled with tension. But one stood still. Sadrak. He was taller than the others, his gray skin marked with golden lines of command. He didn't speak often, but when he did, others listened. Today, he was writing his report. "The human continues to move through Zone 7, he said calmly into the recorder. "Enemy count eliminated in last 48 cycles, 17. Drone losses, 5. Spirits of patrol, broken." He paused, then added, "His name is Riven." Another officer approached, holding a data slate. "Sir, more footage from Patrol 9, all dead." Their helmets recorded everything. Sadrak took the slate and played the video. Grainy images showed fire, dust, confusion. Then came the flash of a grenade, screams, blood, and finally, a blurry figure standing alone, holding a rifle. The officer's voice trembled. He looked right into the camera and smiled. Sadrak didn't flinch. "He wanted us to see it." "But why?" "To send a message." The officer shook his head. "He's one man. He shouldn't be this dangerous." Sadrak closed the video. "That's your first mistake." You still think of him as just a man. Down on Kira 9, Riven walked beside Dr. Mara Kess through a narrow tunnel under the rocks. Ghost floated behind them, scanning for danger. The tunnel opened into a hidden chamber, a resistance outpost lit by dim lights and the buzz of old machines inside. A small group of humans looked up. Some were soldiers, others engineers. Their faces were tired. But when they saw Riven, a whisper spread through the room. That's him. The one from the canyons, the ghost. Riven raised a hand. Don't get excited. I'm just here to help. An older man stepped forward. He had a thick beard and a mechanical arm. I'm Captain Ride. We've been hearing your work. Didn't think you were real. Riven glanced around. This all you've got? 10 people. 3 working rifles. 1 broken mech we've been trying to repair for weeks. Earth Command isn't coming back. We're all that's left. Mara spoke next. But with him, we may have a chance. Riven frowned. Chance for what? To hit back, Ride said. To strike something big. Something they'll feel. Riven nodded slowly. Then let's make it count. Back in orbit, Sadrak began his official report for the Velari High Command. His voice echoed in the chamber as officers listened. This human is unlike any we've studied. His body is failing, wounds untreated, bones likely broken, but he continues. His mind is trained not just for survival, but for chaos. A younger officer interrupted. Sir, shouldn't we just eliminate him now? Sadrak raised a hand. No, we need to learn from him. If one can do this, how many others might follow? Another officer leaned in. Are you saying you admire him? Sadrak paused. I respect the threat. That is not the same as admiration. But your report, my report will speak truth, Sadrak said coldly, not fear. On Kira 9, the humans prepared for a mission. A Velari supply station sat on the ridge above the canyons. It was filled with weapons, food, and communication equipment. If they could take it, they could call for backup or at least disrupt the Velari command lines. Riven studied the map on the screen. The front is weak. Guards are lazy. They think no one's left to attack. We hit fast, hard, and then vanish. Captain Ride pointed to a power generator. Blow this, and the whole station goes dark. Perfect, Riven said. How long? Until we move? Mara looked at him. Tonight. As the sun dropped below the horizon, the team moved through the canyons. Riven led the way, with Ghost scouting ahead. His leg still ached, and his side was wrapped tight. But he moved like he had nothing to lose. At the edge of the station, they waited. Velari guards paced lazily on the upper wall. Drones hovered. Half-powered, their sensors flickering. Riven whispered, Ghost, jam their feed. Now. Ghost sent a pulse through the air. The drones froze. Go, Riven ordered. The team rushed forward, climbing over a collapsed wall. Riven threw a flash grenade into the barracks. Shouts followed, then fire. Inside the control room, Riven planted a charge. He spoke into the Velari. Come, you watching observer? In the command ship above, Sadrak's screen turned white then. Showed the station exploding in real time. He stood slowly. They took it, an officer gasped. They actually took it. Sadrak turned, his eyes dark. Tell the High Command. What should I say? Sadrak looked out the window at the burning ridge. Tell them this war has changed. And tell them why. He opened his report file and added a new sentence. Riven is no longer an enemy soldier. He is a symbol, and symbols are far more dangerous. Back on the surface, Riven and the team escaped into the cliffs. Behind them, smoke rose into the night sky. Captain Ride clapped his shoulder. You just gave them a scar they'll never forget. Riven shook his head. No, this was just the beginning. Mara looked at him. What now? Riven stared into the darkness. Now, he said, we show the galaxy what a dying human is capable of. The desert wind of Kira 9 screamed through narrow canyons. rattling broken metal and whispering across the empty ruins of old battlefields. The night was thick and cold, full of dust and silence. But something was moving in that silence, something. Fast, clever, and deadly. It wasn't a fleet. It wasn't an army. It was one man. Commander Riven. His armor was patched with tape and scorched in places. His rifle had been taken from a dead Velari officer, his left knee still barely bent. But his eyes were sharp as ever. And tonight, they glowed with purpose. Behind him floated Ghost, his small homemade drone. Its blinking light had been shut off. Its buzz was silenced. It moved like a shadow. Riven stood at the edge of a cliff, looking down at the Velari supply outpost far below. The outpost glowed with bright blue lights, surrounded by high-energy fences and patrolling drones. But none of that bothered him. "I'm going in," Riven whispered. Mara's voice crackled in his earpiece. "Are you sure? That place is locked tight. You won't get a second chance." "I won't need one." There was silence on the line. Then she said softly, "Good luck, Commander." He didn't respond. He just moved. Crawling down the cliffside like a predator, he used the shadows to cover each step. The wind covered the sounds of his boots. He reached the edge of the fence, pulled a device from his belt, and stuck it to the energy grid. Ghost hovered beside him and blinked red danger. "I know," Riven said. "Just hold steady." The device beeped, then sparked. The fence's blue light faded with a soft hum. "I'm in." Inside the Velari outpost, two soldiers walked the outer hallway, weapons slung casually over their shoulders. "Nothing ever happens out here," one grumbled in his language. "Why do we still guard this sector?" "The humans are broken," said the other. "They hide in caves and eat dirt. They're no threat." Just then, the hallway lights flickered. One by one, they died. The guards froze. From the ceiling above them, a shape dropped in silence. Ghost wrapped its claw around one soldier's neck and shot a stun charge into his spine. The second turned just in time to see a blur. Riven. He grabbed. The soldier slammed him against the wall and snapped the weapon from his hand. The guard struggled, tried to speak, but a sharp blade silenced him forever. Ghost blinked green. Mission clear. Riven knelt beside the bodies and pulled a keycard from one belt. Then he moved deeper into the building. Outside the outpost, Sadrek stood in his command chamber aboard the Shattervek. He stared at a holographic map showing blinking red alerts inside the outpost. "Security has dropped," one officer said. "Motion sensors are blind. Internal systems are glitching." Sadrek narrowed his eyes. "He's there." "Who, sir?" "Riven, the Ghost." "Should we send reinforcements?" "No," Sadrek said. "I want to see what he does when he thinks no one's watching." On the ground, Riven moved through the narrow halls like a shadow. Ghost hacked terminals and opened doors as they moved. Riven's eyes stayed, cold and focused. His target wasn't weapons or food. It was data. He reached the main server room and placed a black data spike into the port. Mara's voice returned in his ear. "I'm in. I'm seeing—" "Oh my God, what?" "They're planning another purge. The Velari are sending a fleet to Earth's last civilian arc ships. If they destroy those—" "They won't," Riven said. "Copy everything. We send it to the Resistance base." Ghost beeped. Too late. Alarms screamed. The lights returned, red and blinking. Doors slammed shut. "Security lockdown," Mara said. "They're onto you." "I know." A blast rocked the wall behind him. A squad of Velari soldiers stormed the hall. Riven fired quickly, 2 shots, 2 down. Then he ducked behind a crate and rolled a flash grenade across the floor. Boom. The aliens shouted, blind and deaf for a moment. Riven shot 3 more. Blood covered the floor. The rest ran for cover, but the human was already gone. Riven moved through the ventilation shafts, escaping the trap. Ghost guided him with silent scans. Together, They slipped back into the lower levels. More troops were coming. Too many. He reached the outer platform, the exit in sight. Then a deep, rumbling voice stopped him. Human. Riven turned. A tall Valari officer stood at the far end of the walkway. His armor was dark red. His body was massive, and his eyes glowed with hate. "You're the one they call Ghost," the Valari growled. "You have killed many of my kind." Riven raised his weapon. "Not enough." The Valari raised a plasma blade. "Come then. Let us see what you are made of." Riven didn't wait. He ran forward, firing as he moved. The Valari blocked the shots with his blade, sparks flying. The two clashed in the center of the platform, blade against rifle, fist against metal. Riven ducked a swing, slammed his weapon into the alien's ribs, and shot once point blank. The Valari stumbled, roaring in pain. Then he lunged. His blade cut across Riven's side, burning his skin. Riven fell to one knee, but Ghost reacted. It fired a shockwave at the Valari's back, forcing him forward. Riven rose and drove his blade into the alien's neck. The Valari gasped, fell, and did not rise again. Blood dripping, breathing heavy, Riven looked down at the body. Should have stayed in the dark. He stumbled toward the edge, where Ghost opened the gate. A resistance vehicle was waiting on the ridge below. He climbed aboard and collapsed in the seat. Mara met him with a medkit. "Are you okay?" "Fine," he said, closing his eyes. "Just another day." She connected a line to his armor and began injecting meds. "You got the data. You killed their commander, and now we know their next move." "They'll know we do," Riven muttered. "I hope they do," Mara said. "I want them scared." From the shadows of the transport, Ghost hovered silently, watching, always watching. Back aboard the Valari command ship, Sadrak reviewed the footage of the outpost attack. He saw the blood, the chaos, the destruction. He saw the look in Riven's eyes, and he smiled. "Let the others call him a ghost," he said. "I see the truth." "What truth, sir?" an officer asked. Sadrak turned to him. "That he's not a ghost. He's the fire we thought we killed long ago. And now it's spreading." The stars above Earth burned cold and distant. Humanity had once reached for them with hope. Now they were a reminder of what had been lost. The cities were ashes. The oceans were poisoned. The last human strongholds lay hidden in the shadows of deep valleys and underground tunnels. And high above them, the enemy returned stronger, smarter, and more dangerous. Commander Sadrak of the Valari stood aboard the massive warship Dread Sun. His eyes locked on the blue planet spinning below. "This world is stubborn," he said to his officers. "But it will bend." The officer beside him bowed low. "The humans are not as weak as we believed, Commander. They adapt. They strike and vanish. Their ghost, the one called Riven, has cost us over 300 soldiers. Sadrak didn't blink. That is why I've come myself." He turned away from the window and walked down the control bridge. His armor made no sound, but every soldier nearby stiffened. His presence was heavy like thunder wrapped in skin. "I will drag this Riven into the light," Sadrak said. "And when I do, the humans will watch their symbol fall." Meanwhile, in a hidden bunker beneath the old Colorado mountain ranges, Riven listened to the static-filled report. "They're bringing in their supreme commander," Mara said. Her voice was tight, her hands shaking slightly as she worked the screen. "The one who led the first purge, Sadrak." Riven leaned back in the steel chair. His chest still ached from the last fight. Scars covered his arms, and blood still marked the inside of his collar. But his eyes didn't waver. "He's come for me," he said quietly. Mara nodded. "And not just you. He's bringing a special team. Elite hunters. Bio-enhanced killers. They've never lost a target." Riven stood slowly and picked up his rifle. "Then let's make history." Outside, dust storms blew across the burned plains. The night sky glowed with enemy ships blocking out the stars. Human scouts watched from craters and rocks, sending quiet warnings back to base. "They're dropping units," one scout whispered. 2 clicks east of old Denver ruins. "Heavy movement, fast." Riven arrived soon after with a small team, only 5 fighters. "You think we can stop them?" one asked. "We don't stop them," Riven said. "We show them something worse than death." The plan was risky. The Velari were expecting a frontal attack, but Riven moved through the broken sewer lines beneath the city, using every old tunnel, every forgotten access point. The Velari elite squad landed with speed and silence. Black-armored, masked, armed with living weapons that hissed like snakes, Cedric stood atop a broken tower, watching everything. "Where's the ghost?" he muttered. "Come and face me." He didn't have to wait long. A sudden blast lit up the east sector. Flames reached the sky. Screams followed. The hunters turned, but too late. One dropped, a blade in his throat. Another exploded from a hidden mine. The third vanished into a cloud of gas that made the skin melt off his bones. "They're here!" The Velari shouted. But no enemy could be seen. Only shadows. Movement. Death. Cedric jumped from the tower and landed hard, cracking the stone. He growled into his cums. "Find him!" One by one, the elite squad fell. Riven didn't speak. He didn't shout. He simply struck fast, silent, precise. His team followed him like ghosts. No mercy. No mistakes, but Cedric was not like the others. He tracked the blood. He read the dust. He found the patterns, and he followed them into the sewer. Riven waited. He stood in the dark tunnel, his rifle low, a knife in his other hand. "You've come far," he said when he saw the large shape enter. Cedric filled the narrow space, his eyes glowing red. "I came to end you," he said, "and to end the idea that humans matter." "You've already failed," Riven answered. They clashed like monsters. The tunnel shook. Stone cracked. Sparks flew. Cedric's strength was brutal. He slammed Riven against the wall, crushing his shoulder. Riven kicked hard, broke free, stabbed, but Cedric caught the blade mid-air and bent it like paper. "You are flesh," he said. "I am war." "I am the reason you're bleeding," Riven growled. A hidden explosive triggered behind Cedric, blasting him forward. Riven rolled, grabbed a pipe, and smashed it into the commander's helmet. For a moment, the Velari was stunned. That was all Riven needed. He slashed across the commander's eyes, blinding him, but Cedric screamed and swung wildly, grabbing Riven by the throat and slamming him to the floor. "You lose," he roared. Ghost dropped from the ceiling at that exact moment. It hissed loudly, spinning its arm into a sharp drill. "No," Riven gasped. "You do." Ghost drove into Cedric's back. Piercing armor. The commander howled. Riven kicked free, grabbed his blade, and plunged it through the creature's heart. The sewer went silent. Cedric fell, shaking, gurgling. His eyes dimmed. "You ... are just ... one man," he whispered. "I was," Riven said. "Now I'm a message." By the time the rest of the Velari realized what had happened, it was too late. Their leader was dead. The elite squad was gone, and the ghost had vanished again into the dust. Back at the bunker, Mara stared at the live feed. "He did it," she said softly. "He actually did it." The room fell silent. Then cheers erupted. The humans screamed in joy, hugging, crying. For the first time in years, they had real hope. Later that night, Riven sat alone outside the base. The stars looked a little clearer. The sky, a little less heavy. Mara joined him and handed him a flask. "Commander." "I'm not a commander anymore," he said. "That died with Earth." "You gave us a reason to fight again," she replied. "That matters more." They sat in silence for a moment. Then Riven said, "He won't be the last." "No," Mara said. "But now they know. The dark isn't theirs anymore." Behind them, new fighters trained, new scouts studied maps, and new plans were being drawn. The war wasn't over, but the tide had shifted, and now, the galaxy knew, the humans were not finished, they were just getting started. The sky above Earth had changed. The stars were still there, but something new hung in the heavens now. Hope. Riven stood on a rocky ridge, wind tearing through his coat, eyes fixed on the alien warship still hovering above. The Velari fleet had slowed since their commander Sadrak's death, confused, hesitating, but not gone. Not yet. Behind Riven, in the Hidden Valley base, the last human council argued, "We should run while they're weak," shouted Kellen, his voice full of fear. "They'll send reinforcements. We can't win a real battle." "No," Mara said firmly. "We strike now, hard. If we hit their central relay ship, we cut off their command. Their whole fleet will lose coordination." "And then what?" another counselor asked. "They still outnumber us." Riven finally spoke, his voice low but clear. "We don't need to fight forever. Just once. The right way." The room went quiet. He looked around. "This is the final move. We win here, or we vanish from history." Above Earth, the Velari flagship Stormi hovered like a beast ready to strike. It was the command hub now, ever since Sadrak died in the tunnels. The new acting leader, Admiral Shern, wasn't like Sadrak. He didn't care about symbols. He wanted results. "Bring the human ghost's body to me," Shern growled. "I want to display it before we burn their last city." He didn't know Riven was already coming for him. The plan was simple but dangerous. Riven would lead a small team aboard Stormi through a stolen shuttle. Mara and her tech unit would jam the ship's sensors for just 60 seconds. Enough time to get in. Enough time to die. Riven loaded his gear silently. "You sure about this?" Mara asked, handing him a sidearm. He nodded. "They think we're broken. That makes them blind." Ghost clicked beside him. The combat bot had been repaired. Barely. Mara smiled slightly. "Don't get heroic." He smirked. "I already did that. Now I'm just finishing the story." The shuttle launched under the cover of an artificial storm. Lightning burst across the sky. Radar signals were scrambled. It was like the weather itself was fighting for them. They hit the docking bay fast. Too fast. Alarms rang immediately. "We're in," shouted Janna, the pilot. "But we've got company." Velari soldiers poured into the bay, weapons raised. Ghost leaped out first, ripping through the front line like a storm of metal and fire. Riven followed, blasting left and right, leading the others through the chaos. "We need the core chamber," he shouted. They moved as one, sharp, trained, human. The halls were tight and hot. Pipes hissed overhead. The air smelled like burned metal. Suddenly, a wall exploded. A Velari juggernaut burst through 10 feet tall, covered in organic armor. "Down!" Riven shouted. The beast roared and charged. It slammed into Janna, sending her flying. Her scream was cut short. Ghost attacked it head-on, locking arms with it in a blur of motion. Sparks flew. Riven rolled behind it and fired directly into its spine. Once, twice. A third shot burned through. The creature dropped. They kept running. Mara's voice came through the coms. "You've got 5 minutes before backup arrives from orbit. Move." Riven's team reached the central chamber. The relay core towered before them, humming with power. This was it. If they took it down, the fleet would collapse into chaos. But it wasn't unguarded. Admiral Shern waited with his own elite guard, 6 Velari warriors, weapons crackling with plasma. "So," Shern said, stepping forward. "The ghost appears." Again, Riven raised his rifle. "You don't belong here." Shern smiled, sharp teeth flashing. "No, but soon you won't either." The two sides clashed. It was fast, brutal, loud. One by one, Riven's team fell. Del was shot through the chest. Aras lost his arm but kept fighting. Ghost was torn in half, shielding Riven. Blood soaked the chamber floor. And still, Riven fought. He dodged a blade, struck low, spun, and fired. Shern met him in the center, their weapons locked. Sparks flew. "You humans," Shern hissed. "Always thinking pain makes you special." "No," Riven said. "Pain just teaches us to adapt." He triggered the grenade in his left hand and shoved it into Shern's belt. The explosion threw them both across the room. Riven hit the floor hard. His ears rang. His vision blurred. But Shern was worse. The alien admiral lay against the wall, armor cracked, chest smoking. Riven crawled toward the core console. Blood poured from his mouth. "Mara," he whispered. "It's done." He hit the detonator. Nothing happened. Static. Then Mara's voice. "Signals jammed. I can't trigger the overload from here." He looked back at the core. Manual. Of course. He looked around. No one else alive. Only him. Slowly, painfully, he dragged himself to the override panel. Behind him, Shern moved, crawling, dying, but not done. "You won't win," he spat. Riven pressed the panel. "Maybe not," he said. "But you won't forget us." He slammed his hand on the manual detonation switch. From Earth, Mara watched as the storm eye bloomed like a second sun in the sky. The Valari fleet. Shattered ships spinning, crashing into each other, signals lost. Confused, broken. The human base exploded in cheers. Survivors cried. Children danced. The sky was finally free. Later, Mara found a quiet hill and placed Riven's broken comm. "Unit into the dirt. No grave. No body. Just memory. She whispered. "Rest easy, Ghost. You made the final move." Far away, on a neutral space station deep in the Orion Veil, two alien diplomats whispered over the news feed. "One human destroyed the Valari command ship?" The first said, "Not just one." The second replied, "A symbol." They looked at the screen. The last image, a human man bloodied, crawling, smiling. A message scrolled below in many languages. "We are human. We are not done." Years had passed since the sky burned with the fall of the alien flagship. The Valari were gone. Earth was rebuilding. Cities were rising from ruins, and green returned to the dead places. But the name Riven was still whispered across the stars. Like a secret fire, children learned his name before they knew the stars. Some called him a hero. Some called him a ghost. But no one forgot, not even the ones who never saw his face. High above Earth, on the new orbital station Vanguard, Captain Mara Talon watched as a group of cadets trained with old rifles. Their moves were rough, young, but brave. She turned away from the window as the station's diplomat entered. "You asked for me?" He said. "I did," Mara replied. "They're coming." The diplomat blinked. "Who?" "The Core Dominion. A scout ship entered the belt an hour ago. No weapons, but they're testing us." The diplomat sighed. "Another war?" Mara shook her head. "Maybe, maybe not. But if they ask who we are, I want them to understand what kind of people they're dealing with." She picked up a small silver box from her desk and handed it to him. "Play this," she said. "It's old, but it says more than I ever could." That night, on the diplomatic channel, the Corps officers watched the human message. It was simple. No threat, no military display. Only an image, a battlefield, smoke, fire, silence. Then dash movement. A single man walked through the wreckage. His body was bent. One arm was limp, his uniform torn. A trail of blood behind him. He moved slowly, painfully, but forward. Always forward. The voice of a child spoke over the image. He had no army. He had no orders, but when Earth needed him, he stood. He stood until the sky turned red. He stood when others fell. He was broken, but he did not stop. He was our soldier, and he never gave up. The corps delegates sat in silence. One of them, a war-born general with steel skin, whispered, "That is not a soldier. That is something else." Far away, in the mining colony of HFY-9, a young girl sat with her grandfather by a small fire in the cold dark of the canyon. "Tell me again," she said, eyes wide, "about the broken soldier." The old man smiled, his face lined with years. "Long ago," he said, "when the sky was full of monsters and Earth was nearly lost, there was one man. Just one. He didn't have wings or powers, but he had something greater." "What was it?" she asked. "Will," the old man said. "And heart." He looked at her. "They say he crawled into the enemy's heart and shattered it. That he gave his life so we could live. Some say he died. Others say he became something else. What do you think?" The old man looked up at the stars. "I think legends don't die. They just wait to be needed again. In a forgotten part of space, a black ship drifted. No name. No signal. Lost. Inside, silence. A metal hand twitched. A man lay inside a deep chamber, cold, still, his body broken in ways no medicine could fix, but his heart, it still beat. Slow. Strong. A flicker of light glowed on his chest. Biostasis. Active. A soft whisper came from the chamber's system. Vital signs stable. Subject, Riven Voss. Then silence again. But not forever. Back on Earth, the Museum of the Last War had one room that drew the most people. It held a cracked rifle, a burned jacket, a piece of alien metal with a human handprint melted into it. And on the wall, carved in steel, "To the broken soldier, you walked so we could rise." A young soldier stood in front of the display. He was tall, strong, but quiet. His friend asked, "Do you think it's real, all of it?" The soldier nodded slowly. "Yes, and if it isn't, it should be." Then, one day, the stars shifted again. A signal, faint, hidden inside old war code, only 3 words. "I'm still here." Across every command base, alarms flashed. Old scientists woke up from sleep. Generals rushed to communication towers. Satellites searched the signal's path. It was moving. Coming home. And in the command room of the Vanguard station, Mara stared at the screen. She said one word, "Riven." A technician looked up. "Should we prepare defenses?" Mara shook her head. "No," she whispered. "Prepare the gate. He's coming back." The broken soldier had returned. Not for war, not for glory, but for the next fight, whatever it may be. Because Earth didn't need perfect warriors. It needed hearts that didn't stop. It needed legends that could bleed. And most of all, it needed someone to remind the galaxy. That humanity never stays down.